Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wells of Wall Street. Power update here, POWR on the exchange. Before we go into the chart, guys, let's look at some top level information around energy, the crisis here in the UK, supposedly, around the world in fact, and PowerLedger's increasing aspect of its uniqueness and ability to help as a solution to some of these issues. So here in the UK, guys, we covered some crazy topics last year about a fuel crisis, an energy crisis, and what did we say at those times? Don't underestimate these governments and the World Economic Forum. They will have every narrative under the sun to try and force us to pay more, to do this, to do that. And here we are, as we said we would be. Next year, 2022, we are seeing an energy crisis. The crazy thing is, guys, we talk about an energy crisis like we're in the year 2022. Can you believe it? That we're talking about narratives about blackouts and households not having power. Now, I don't know where half of these narratives come from, because I certainly don't know anyone in the UK that has had a blackout. I don't think we've had a blackout in the UK before. Certainly not in my lifetime. So this is all just fear tactic to push the green agenda for sure. But one thing that I would like to make clear is that we do, as a world and as a nation and unified people around everywhere, need to do more to accommodate a better, more efficient, sustainable world, and especially in the environmental factors and particularly energy. Now, apparently Germany is the worst or highest priced country for energy. There's a load of talk here in the UK about utilising energy cabling from Europe, etc. This, that and the other. And I'm sort of sitting there going, why are we still messing about with this stuff? Like, we have a load more solar farms, we have a load more people with solar on their rooftops, and yet we're still bowing down to these nonsense companies paying stupid prices, and in some instances, some people not even being able to afford their energy bills. Is this the world that we're supposed to be living in? Seriously. So the likes of PowerLedger and Energy Web and other topics that we talk about are looking to essentially not necessarily fully remove these crazy systems that are in place, but redefine them, make them better, make them more efficient, and also, more importantly, give more power, excuse the pun, to the people. There's a scheme here trying to get people to reduce their energy consumption, or this, that and the other, and they will get money off their bills. Well, obviously you get money off your bills if you use less electricity and stuff anyway, but they're doing a scheme where they will be essentially offering more discounts off energy. And I'm sort of sitting there going like, well, hang on a minute. These companies make millions and billions of dollars, and you're saying to me that we, the people, have to do something about this. Why aren't the energy companies doing something about the prices? They're making all the profit. They're forcing us. The governments are talking more and more about electrical cars, electrical this, electrical that, but then they put the price up. So it's like, well, how are we supposed to win as people? And me as a person, quite astute to, of course, the aspect of blockchain and the use of energy through that P2P systems, in the sense that we can get to a point where we can become prosumers. That means that you and I, whether we're across the world, next door to each other, whatever it may be, are in charge of our carbon units, are in charge of the ability to be able to sell excess energy units to each other. So instead of relying on these nonsense companies dictating these crazy high prices, we can be in charge. It will be done on AI algorithm, a fair algorithm across the world, based on supply and demand, based on what our battery capacities are holding. And there's no doubt in my mind, you will see more and more community driven projects where we will probably have community batteries, for example, down our roads, where we are contributing towards it via our solar panels, but also distributing it as and when we need to as well. If a house has run out of energy, we have excess energy, we can sell our energy to the other person. And then also from a community perspective to another community, a council to another council, as a county to another county, however it may be, a country to country. The possibilities are endless, and we can stop all this nonsense. We can stop all this carbon horrific trading that's been going on for decades anyway, making these companies billions of dollars while the general public consistently have problems with paying bills and not being able to afford them. We live in an inflative world, which disgusts me, and that's why I always believe and hope. I really hope and believe in the decentralized systems that are coming, because I think that we can finally have a blockade against the unfairness in this world. And I know for a fact that PowerLedger are for sure behind one of the key aspects of how we're going to push this more and more, bring people more power, bring them more to sustainability, to efficiency, and more importantly, equality as well. It has to stop. So this is why we did the AMA with Dr. Gemma a couple of weeks ago. Please do check that out. I'll leave a link at the end of this one. We're talking about the P2P networks, the ability of community-driven projects and community-driven energy production, removing ourselves more and more from these crazy companies and delivering a fairer world, a fairer system. And I really like the case studies here about PPA, so power purchase agreements. You're going to find a lot more companies. I mean, this one was quite interesting, where we're looking at, I think it's one of the first legal companies has purchased, here we go, Next Energy Inc.'s UK solar PPA with DLA Piper. Now, I'm not sure if they're using blockchain or not, but they are talking about virtually here. So this might be their differentiation word of blockchain, but they're utilizing the aspect that companies can now buy certain aspects of energy from producers, whether that be farmland or commercial companies, to say we want to blockade this X amount of energy to formulate power to our businesses here, here and here, and we're therefore carbon neutral because we're utilizing a very efficient P2P aspect of carbon trading and buying carbon units ahead of time to avoid crazy prices, but also reduce the carbon footprint. This is really interesting. Looking forward to reading more about this, but this is where I think everything will be going. And that's from a commercial aspect. Okay, I'm not expecting general residents to be able to hire or purchase carbon units from local farms that have solar panel units, right? What I'm expecting is community-driven projects, houses to have their own batteries. I don't know why on earth our country is looking at this exciting, in my opinion, non-exciting venture of heat pumps. This is a shocking idea. I don't know who makes these decisions in government or parliament, or indeed who indeed runs our energy sector in the government. They need to have a hard look at themselves, because they think that's the answer. I tell you now, all that is back-pocketing contractors, like it has been for the last few years with PPA and all this other nonsense. It's all about money for these guys. They don't have an interest in green. They don't have an interest in the development and efficiency of our country and others, and sustainability at all. They just want to line their pockets, and I'm tired of it. I'm sure you are as well. And you know what? The answer is blockchain, Web 3.0, PPA, and the likes of PowerLedger, as we said, as the likes of Energy Web, have the answers. It's now down to us as people to educate ourselves, because no one else will educate us on it. Educate yourselves how you can be a prosumer, contribute to a new mechanism in the world, and fight back against these nonsense companies, arguably immoral companies across the world. And that goes for petrol as well, fuel, everything. We can make a massive difference ourselves. So who's going to stand up with me? I, for one, am waiting to move house, and I will for sure be buying a load of solar panels, a battery capacitor, a converter, whatever I need, and I will get myself a Web 3.0 hotspot, and I will get myself onto a grid where I have control, not a company, and I will be able to help the world with energy, carbon, and those that need it the most. I'm not looking for profit. I'm looking to help the world. Guys, let's jump into the chart. I think we've had a bit of a rant, but PowerLedger is for sure a phenomenal project that is going to help the world massively. Price-wise, guys, as an investor of PowerLedger, we've hit a nice little resistance area here around just over 60 cents, dragging ourselves upwards from these earlier regions in January of 41 cents. And bear in mind, not like other projects, we haven't really had a massive decline, to be honest. We had a drop here, we had a take up here. PowerLedger is a very big project, guys. Like, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be fantastic moving forward as the years go by. I still think it's gigantically undervalued. And, you know, in the AMA, we covered a few weeks ago about the difference between this and many other projects is that there's a lot more control in this price, in the sense that, you know, there's no massive kind of huge volatility. It's not faked out. It's very much a project in the making that I feel that is a fantastic investment. So what am I looking at right now? I've been holding PowerLedger for a bit now, buying back. I think it was back in end of last year, so it was around about when it was about 36 cents. I have admittedly been buying back here around 50 cents, and I'm just really waiting now, guys, because we've hit on the long-term fib retracement here, we've hit that 64-65 cent mark. It's had a bit of resistance there, as it did back here in the mid-January period, and now we're having a bit of a tail down. But look at that, we dropped back down today, so we had a high of 62 cents, sorry, and a low of 57. So we've already had the drop down, and it's already bought itself back up, and we're currently, I believe, trading around 59 cents. Can we drag ourselves back over 60 and get some stability there? That would be interesting. I'm very much interested around this 61 or just under 61 cent mark to get stability out. But if we don't, it could be that we drag ourselves back down to this 54-55 cent level, and I will for sure be buying more there. That is going to be my first buying point, which will be literally where we dipped down earlier today, which I missed. So that is a great interest to me. But also, I don't really feel like it would definitely come down to this area, but I'm very interested around this sort of 48-49 cent mark, just in case we do have a bit more of a tail down, and maybe a middle position here on this fib retracement level of 52. So 3 areas of interest to me. I think this is very ambitious down here, but I am very interested in around that sort of 56 cent mark, and also probably around 54, to be fair, just either side of that 55 cents, because there aren't too many touch points. We had some here at the end of January, and some volatility around these areas early January, but then not really since these areas in November and September. So I think we've got a point to prove in that aspect. But if you were to consider a kind of like a virtual trend line, really, I think POWR is very much spot on where it ideally should be. I do anticipate that we may come back down to this sort of 55 area at least at some point in the next couple of weeks. If it doesn't, fair play, and we're still making money, right? So it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to anticipate that we have a bit of a drop down. I would love to be buying more at that 5 cent saving for sure. There's a couple of other indicators here to look at. The RSI has indeed dipped over the last 24 hours, understandably. But after this big sell-off, this intake isn't huge. That's why I think we're going to stabilize a bit and maybe drop down a bit more, because I don't think we're quite ready for POWR itself to really drive forwards like we have seen in many other projects, like a good 78% increase in the last few days. So for this week alone, we're up 7%, which is still positive, of course. But that monthly, look at that monthly, it's only minus 8%. If you consider all the other projects out there that have lost like substantial amounts, maybe 30-40% over a month, and are indeed on a 3-month scale probably about 50 to 70% reduction. This is all in green. This shows you where we are with PowerLedger right now as a project in its life cycle, but also where the technology is, where we are going with this. And they have branched out to 10 countries or so. Very minimal activities right now, in my opinion, but this is going to grow significantly. And as PPA continues to be a big topic, as energy crisis continues to be a big topic, especially in 2022. We moved away from the narratives, if you like, of the last couple of years. We're now going on to the next one, and I'm pretty sure that blockchain, particularly over the next few years, is going to be a humongous point in terms of the energy sector, as we've conclusively said many times last year in all our energy related videos. Very passionate about it, very passionate about the environment and the energy sector, but more importantly, very extremely passionate about the development for humanity, the development for equality, sustainability, making people fight back. That's what I'm about, and I want to see that in the energy sector as well, and I think PowerLedger can help us deliver that. So the RSI, guys, at the moment is still quite supportive here. It's all very level. 53 on the 28 day, 54 on the 14, and 52 on the 90. We've had relatively lower regions on the 14 day a few days back, if not a week ago. But in my opinion, it's still a very strong, stable project here. The MACD only switched over here on the 4th of February. The gap may be narrowing over the next couple of days. Like I said, this intake's not massive. I think PowerLedger as a token is very heavily driven specifically on news and activity that it's doing. From an investment perspective, I think people need to get their heads around more and more about the energy sector when it comes to blockchain and tokenomics and things like that. But one thing's for sure is these prices probably in the long run obviously won't stay around forever. I think, like I said, this is very undervalued. I think earlier, or certainly into last year, we were hitting well over the dollar. I think we got, what was this, on the 21st of November, a nice 71 cent mark. So we were pushing the boundaries of that dollar nearly. So we've got a long way to go from where we are now. And I think this is going to see some great numbers for 2022 for sure. Flying back, I think this was the previous all-time high, was actually up here when it maybe launched. But for me personally, I think Energy Web can be a really hot topic this year. We're looking forward to doing more videos on this, but we're going to wrap that up there, guys. That's what we think is going to be happening with PowerLedger in the next few days. Potential drop down to here. Otherwise, it's going to be support at this 60, and we might just see ourselves drag back up to 66 and push beyond that to back to the 70 cent mark. But I don't see enough volume in there just yet to do that. That's why I think we might tail down and get one last opportunity for a nice accumulation period. But let's see how it goes, guys. We will indeed catch up with PowerLedger very soon. But until then, we will see you in the next one, and take care. Bye-bye.